As a kid, doorknob high, I was for some odd reason fascinated by that sound. I hear it going up and down the street and see it on TV. At the time, I didn't know the principle behind it. All I knew was a fast car with flashing red and blue lights on top going woo, 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 woo. I love getting in the car with my mama, because when she be driving fast, I would woo, 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 and she'll turn to the back seat. Boy, shut that noise up. Whoop, whoop. I'd be silent for the moment, but as soon as I felt the car going fast again, I'd crank back up. Now, I do believe her not wanting to hear my siren noises kept her honest with the speed limit. I was so fascinated with that sound that majority of my toys were police cars and policemen. I had this bullhorn with the red light on top. I pressed this button and the light started flashing. I pressed that other button and the police siren goes off. I played with it for about a day and a half, and then it just disappeared. But anyway, my young mind was made up that I wanted to be a policeman until I became one. Yes, I became one. 09-5476. In that same thought you just had that I became one, well, that's about how long it took for me to realize that I wasn't going to be one. What assisted me in becoming one, 09-5476, instead of a policeman, was bypassing my youth, becoming head of my mother's household, and partaking in lawlessness to feed my little brothers and my mama's coke habit. The streets became my slave master, and I settled with being street, which was nothing but being a servant of death instead of a servant of life. Servants of death do what's subculturally right without comprehending that it's morally wrong. Partaking in lawlessness characterized by a pattern of thinking and a behavior that creates an unhealthy compulsion to exist and belong. This is why a majority of us now exist and belong to the state. Being street caused me to lose empathy and become desensitized to death. It was an easy transition, especially in my everyday life I was dying to live. Being forced to play the role of an adult had me deceiving myself and thinking I was living life. But that wasn't life for no 14-year-old. There was no more going to the playground or playing on the swings for me. No playing in the creek. The kids haven't seen me so long, they still think I'm playing hide and seek. Didn't know how long I can keep that up. Sometimes I wish I was a bum on the corner just shaking the cup. This situation better end by the time hair grows on my chin. Too late, me and my peace fuzz was sentenced to life and 62 years in the pen. And that's how 1-09-5476 began. It's not so much of a fascination as it was when I was doorknob high, but confirmation that they was always after me. I found myself sitting in a prison cell at age 16, wondering what I could have been when I should have been my age. Reminiscing on how I wanted to live like most kids. A few cells down, I saw someone young like me. My smile triggered thoughts of this being a perfect opportunity for me to act, think, and have the common dialogue of a kid. But this led to me being stabbed in my back 11 times and left for dead. It was a sure reminder that I bypassed my youth, and this was no place nor time to be a kid. Just as it was for me on the street, there was no time for school. Forget about higher learning. That's 4 years of college. A 9 to 5, that's 40 hours. A vocational trade, that's 6 to 12 months. With those calculations, how could someone who was bypassing their youth have time to fulfill any short or long-term goals when the headlines read prison or death by the age of 18, from the cradle to the grave, dying before having a chance to live, the school to prison pipeline? Those headlines told me I'm next. But it was both of my little brothers who ended up in the obituary section of the newspaper. Those who bypass their youth are on one side of the bridge. Manhood is on the other. What bridged the gap was changing my mental map, my way of thinking, permitting me to see myself and the world differently from a cold heart. One exhibit of my cold heart was not being able to cry. I tried everything to muscle a tear. From watching movies I was told that made people cry to experiencing the death of a loved one, no tears. Out of everything I experienced, it took reading passages of scripture and it led to a salty taste of tears streaming down my face for the first time in 32 years of asking my mama, family, prison psychologist why I can't cry. To now be able to cry, I call my tears the melting ice that surrounded my cold heart. It opened the floodgates to the hidden treasures I bypassed as a youth, discovering civility, cultivating empathy, integrity, discipline, gratitude, vision, allowing me to feel humanized. Just imagine the hidden treasures within others who bypass their youth when there's and risk dying like a caterpillar when there's so much more to us. I bypassed my youth and came into the prison system barely knowing how to read and write, to now being a published author. I settled with thinking I could only draw a stick figure, to later realize I'm a portrait artist of realism. At the age of 44, thanks to an opportunity given here on Green Rock, I discovered I could paint. Man. Today, there's a new kind of fascination with that sound, gratified by the fact that they're no longer after me. Not even a possibility. Why and how? Because I'm now living the best version of myself. Thank you.